My name is Gleb. I'm a pitch coach, and today I will be a co-host for our segment called Pitch Confidential. Now, Pitch Confidential has one key value proposition. We keep it candid, keep it honest, and the idea is to reveal some of the kitchen side of the venture capital industry, but also talk about sales, talk about comms, and a bunch of human stuff. Now, together with me today are two people that I really, really like, and that's a big statement for me. So right to my left is my good friend and sometimes colleague, Yrjö Ojasaar. Now, he's basically been defending people in the court of law in the US. He raised several funds, basically, and is investing into a lot of our top founders in Estonia. But originally, he spent a lot of time in the US, so it kind of influenced him a little bit, but don't hold it against him. Yrjö, how are you doing?
Doing great. I'm very well hydrated. I'm ready for this.
Understood. Hydration, ladies and gentlemen, is super important when you're on stage, but also when you're hosting these things. Not too much, though. The second person I really, really like is somebody who raised a 20 million fund in Lithuania, is loved by a lot of founders I have trained personally and across the Baltic states. But the thing that really, really kind of makes me respect her on a very high level is that she's a runner, but the kind of runner that is a top 1 percentile runner. So she could do a 42-kilometer run at 2 hours, 51 minutes, and 32 seconds, if I got this right. And also, she gave me a bit of nonsense on stage last time when I, was lacking precision. So, Jone from FIRSTPICK, I'm really excited to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Very nice to hear nice words from you, Gleb.
Did I get the numbers right?
Well. Yeah, only when you get the numbers right.
Okay, numbers are important, right? So dear founders, whoever listening, numbers apparently is super duper important.
Metrics.
Right, metrics. So Jone, does that mean you lead through spreadsheets?
No.
Okay, well, if we look at founders right now, and right now everybody's basically running out of cash, fundraising is hard, and VCs are saying, hey, show me the traction, show me the growth, show me the money, right? Are you one of those, or you look beyond the numbers?
We look beyond the numbers for sure. So I think this is the most vanity thing. If founders here come when you have some traction, like most likely they just don't like the market or they don't like you. I don't know. But I think in this environment, it's still a lot about founder, no matter if you're pre-seed, seed, Series A is a bit different, right? So for sure, looking beyond that, and because this round is the easiest to raise. Later, they will look into your numbers. Our round is the easiest because you build on the mission and vision.
So what you're saying, basically, it's founder can basically talk about the beautiful story. Numbers are kind of okay, but you're so early that you don't look as closely at the numerical indicators, whatever they're present, compared to, let's say, obviously growth stage fund, but let's say later stage funds. But you're guys are super early, like pre-seed. Did I get this right? Or you dabble also into seed stages?
No, absolutely. I think we are in seed stage only when someone else is also participating and we are co-investing regardless then, if it's from our portfolio. Otherwise, we consider ourselves good judges on early stage founder market fit, and not on the spreadsheets. And if someone comes in super early stage and says, oh, but my churn rate is only 5%, it's like, come on, you haven't even started, right?
Yeah,
so it's your family that hasn't churned.
But I mean, it makes me think, Yrjö, you might probably take on this, but how much of this early game is just belief, basically? It's like a confidence game. How much of that is rational decision making, and how much of that maybe is just a taste preference? This has just been puzzling me for the past 12 years. And we had this conversation with Yrjö a long time ago, also on a podcast, is how much of this stuff is rational versus irrational. And I might be a complete, naive kitty cat here, but, it's how much of this stage is just belief?
I think it's a lot. But another dimension that it's worth bringing in, I think it's very individual. Jone just talked about how they don't take this into account, but I bet some of your partners are more into numbers than others. And that's what I mean by individual. It's down to the partner level, and that partner's personality and their life experience Some partners absolutely believe that everything in their past has taught them that you can only, show me the facts, show me the numbers, right? Other partners have seen that the vision, the ability to put together the plan on how we get there in the future is even more important. Some others talk about, the match between the founders. What's the psychology of these people? So I think we can't really paint VCs and funds with one brush, and that's something we can get into here is how do VCs and individual VCs, individual partners pick the startups. Do you have people in your fund that are more into numbers versus others who are more into the sort of the vision?
There's like 7 of you, right?
Absolutely. So we have 4 people in the investment committee. And then once we come to making a decision and someone says oh, but what about their budget? And then the budget will change, but it's fine. The person wants to see the rationale, how they calculate, what they take into account. It can be even salaries, but you don't even have the benchmark for that, but you just want to see that they have it. So that makes sense. What for me doesn't make sense personally is that we've been investing since, I think, early 2019, is that when you catch a startup with relatively good monthly recurring revenue and you think, oh, this is the catch, majority of them actually stagnated. And the ones that we caught at zeros actually went up much more. And I can't say that this is how it is, but this is just a little bit of experience, because when we started investing, I said without 10K MRR, we're not making an investment.
Has that changed?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
How?
Well, we invest pre-revenue most of the time. And then I think if it's 5 or 10K, it doesn't make a difference.
But okay, something changed along the lines. Obviously, you guys were part of an umbrella of a different brand. Then you started your own shop, so maybe that thesis changed a little bit. But listen, guys, so my job a lot of time is I work with the VC funds themselves, training the portfolio companies, right? Like yours, for example, FIRSTPICK. At the same time, I'm directly working with the founders, right? So I have this perspective on both ends. But what I'm seeing is, and I constantly ask myself, who are the people really, right? So one might be more quantitative, right? One might be, based on their experience, is more heuristics based. So basically mental shortcuts. They simply make decisions based on gut, and then they post-hoc rationalize. And I started asking, who are these individuals really? What makes them tick? Because ultimately, if you want to, successfully pitch or persuade, you basically need to figure out what makes them work. And then I realized what makes it complicated is that it's not just an individual that may be writing the investment memo and pitching you with a fund and is the deal champion, but it's the whole organism of maybe 3-4 decision makers, key decision makers, that basically debate, fight. They have their own internal politics. And that made me start asking, okay, if this is, especially early stage when you pre-revenue, you don't have a lot of data, how much is, there's so much subjectivity. And I kept basically puzzling over this, and I couldn't figure out who are these people individually and as a group. And I started developing a few kind of guesses, heuristics, and models, but I really love learning more and more and keep updating my toolkit. So if you guys have little hacks, especially when you recommend your portfolio companies to other funds, later stage funds, and you try to give them a little blurb about, okay, I'm introducing you to so-and-so, and that's what makes them tick. Do you do that? And if so, how do you actually develop your own mental model of what these partners or associates are like in real life, not just, on paper, their, conference bio and so forth. So what are these mental models that you picked up along the way? Because you guys are super experienced, that help you understand who these people really are.
Absolutely agree. This is the question I still need to figure out, who the person, what kind of person am I, right? And this is a very good point. We have the role of being investor. You can go on my LinkedIn. I will tell you that, I've started my career, blah, 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 blah. But what do I actually like? I think you've started very well. I run marathons. This is, something that we could start off from, but it's not written somewhere, right? So this is one thing, and not really to know the person personally, but I think also for us, for example, in investment committee, I always think, what ticks that other person? And I've been working with our partners for 8 years or so, and I'm still figuring it out.
8 years.
Yeah.
How old is the fund though? I'm kind of picking up on some cues here that there's 2019 and you're a fresh fund, but it's 8 years. You've been working with your partners for a very long time. Is that across several funds, or did you guys work together before you started the VC game, or just help us understand a little bit more?
Yeah. So we've worked before with some of the partners before we went into VC game. Then we went to work with Startup Wise Guys from 2019. And then we pulled off our own fund that we said, okay, we want to focus on the Baltics. We felt like this is where the most we can spread, no further than that.
And so you kind of figure out about...
FIRSTPICK started in 2022.
So what I'm getting out of this, you figured out something about yourself on that theme, which is a lifelong journey, is that you wanted to focus on the Baltics. And I'll just give an example, and you feel free to kind of pitch in here because you're also pan-Baltic and all that. I mean, one thing I realized, one of my mental models, is that people post-hoc rationalize. They get a feeling and then they find reasons why to do the thing. So, people who are listening to this is what I partially mean why people are, very often irrational. They got to get this gut feeling, and it's sometimes a vague, unconscious sensation, and then start looking up facts to support what they want to do anyway. And so when I'm kind of listening to Jone just now, and I'm, obviously going to give it to Yrjö too, and like how much of that decision to go ban Baltic is it purely, okay, well, I have the network here, and I like my home country, so I'm going to build a fund around this because it's so close. And how much of that is just conscious exploration that goes way beyond these home biases, these personal network preferences? How much of that was a conscious decision? Okay, there's an opportunity here, and it's not just because I have this unique positioning and access, but it's also in itself. If I would not be, Lithuanian or Estonian, I would still bet on this. And this is partially what I mean. Is like, how much of that was a deliberate, logical process that we discovered something about yourself, or how much of that is, good old-fashioned, well, it was easy, so I did it,
This is where I live, so hey, I'm going to
might as well start a fund,
Yeah, I might as well not want to travel at some point, so I'll just stick to the Baltics maximum,
Yeah.
I think it's the classical, finding finding problem to solution. I think that's what sometimes happens in startup world. So you really figure out what you want to do, and then you're like, oh, but this is such a big world problem. But in like jokes aside, it really so first we said, okay, we saw our past portfolio, the best performing deals where we got really early, and we got in because we really knew the founders. So we said like we could actually get in before anyone else. And if we speak about Polish founders or Ukrainian founders or anyone else, there was someone before us because we were not in the market. So we said, okay, so actually we see Lithuania is flying very well because I think we should be aware we are a Lithuanian team based in Vilnius. And then we said, but let's do Baltics because I think Lithuania as a standalone might not maybe be enough for the pipeline. So let's focus on that a little bit more. But we knew it's going to be a challenge because we are not physically there. And I keep on understanding more and more that even with the best intentions, if you're just not around, you might lose on that like super early stage deal where we operate.
I mean, what I'm hearing you here is it's a relationship business, and you have to be on location, basically. I mean, it's very, very cool to chat with both of you, because both of you are representing funds that are pan-Baltic. And the Baltic states, although form this union in many ways, this informal union, but it's still competitive. You're kind of like frenemies sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Well, in our fund, Change Ventures, when we look at the deal flow, when we look at the statistics, it certainly has, for the past 10 years, looked like 50% of the Baltic deals come from Estonia, and the other 50 from Latvia and Lithuania, and with Lithuania being bigger than Latvia. So for us, it made sense to kind of double down on Estonia, and hence Rait and I are here. We have an associate here. Andris and Zane are in Latvia, and they also cover Lithuania. So we focused our strength or most of our team on Estonia, but we certainly look for deals in Latvia and Lithuania. But to be honest, I agree with Jone. The further away you go from your home base, the less time you can spend there, and the less founders that you know there, and probably the less you also can help them hands-on if you're not there.
I mean, I cannot help but think that, okay, so let's say you're pitching a limited partner. Let's say you're raising a new fund, which is, topic du jour for most funds right now, because, okay, show me the money, and, it's really difficult right now. And you're pitching LPs now and saying, well, we have this unique insight, and insert your market of preference, be that geographic or whatever. And okay, cool. Well, you have this unique access to Estonia with a population of 1.3 million people, and proportionately everything is just smaller. No matter how many startups per capita you have, which is extraordinary. Or you look at Lithuania, who's they're growing really, really fast. It's roughly double the size of Estonia, if I'm not mistaken, right? But it's still are minuscule, tiny countries.
Yes.
And you're pitching LPs that, okay, we have a 20 million fund, we have a 50 million fund, right? And we're gonna drive those free access. We're gonna drive the proper IRR. And you're making an argument based essentially, and in your case, it's maybe 50%. For Jone, maybe it's like, I don't know, over that, in your home base, that you're going to find these opportunities, these unicorns, or maybe at least 100 mil exits, right? But the name of the game is these big outliers. Mm-hmm. And I could not help but just question the very logic of it. How much of that, again, is that, oh, I'm already here. I have this unique insight, these relationships, the relationship game, and I'm just rationalizing, okay, it's so convenient and I already have all this access. Why not just also raise a fund around that and be a VC? But what if Poland is a better opportunity? What if it's not just the Baltic states, but maybe the DACH region is much better, right? And I get it. You have to kind of position yourself, and there's a geographic focus. But these are not, this is not the US. This is not London. This is not, Germany. You just simply don't have the volume of people. You have to go pan-Baltic at the very least. Yeah. And how does the pitch to the VC go when they kind of look at your pipeline and say, well, it seems most of your deals are Estonian, Latvian, Lithuanian because you have these relationships. But I mean, what about the other arm of it? Like I can flip it. So for Jone, it's Estonia. For you guys, it's Lithuania.
And it's harder. And I think it is harder for us to win a deal, get a deal, help the deal that is in Lithuania. Fact, because we don't have someone there. We used to have Gabriele, excellent associate, now in Berlin.
Yeah. She's
fantastic. But we miss her. And we regularly see deals come through as announcements on LinkedIn. Bam, this and this raised money. We're like, who the hell are they? Why weren't we in on that?
FOMO.
Because we're not there. Almost never does a deal go by in Estonia that we've never heard of, don't know the founders, just kind of passed us. I don't know how it is for you, Jone. What's your portfolio split anyway between Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania right now?
Yeah, I think if in total, historically, I've just checked, so it's 15% Estonian with the previous fund. With the current fund, out of 20, we have 2 companies from Estonia. One is in the process. We'll have 3 companies from Estonia. And obviously, majority is from Lithuania, and then we have a couple from Latvia. So, but I absolutely agree. I mean, for us, getting a deal in Estonia, or let's say winning a deal, I think it's not impossible, but winning a deal, it almost implies that you come there, you take the deal, everyone wants it, and you're like, nah, it's ours. But the way we participate in the deals in Estonia is we co-invest. And I think this is maybe how you also participate in the deals in Lithuania. It's easiest to co-invest. Founders need bigger rounds. Actually, I think has this big ego of being the solo investor in the round. And I think it's actually pretty nice. But absolutely, I think for us to really be there and say oh, we took all the best deals in Estonia, it's almost impossible.
But we're going to... Go ahead.
No, I feel that actually, the more I keep on thinking, the smaller the ecosystem, the harder it is to get into it. So I've really been it's my mission, Gleb knows that very well, to come to Estonia and somehow be make FIRSTPICK recognized. Not myself personally, maybe just FIRSTPICK as a name. And I keep on, we have a lot of good connections, I think. All of the funds are super good connections, but then we speak with founders. And founders, they're like, oh, what? We don't know who you are, right? And that for me shows that you just haven't been around for 10 years, for 15 years there, unlike in Lithuania.
I mean, you're new kids in the block, so to speak. Hopefully this podcast has definitely helped because we are going to be sharing this social media channels. In fact, I want to remind that we are all attending this flagship conference we're having, Latitude59, on the 22nd, 23rd, 24th. In fact, Jure and I are going to be hosting the Pitch Confidential segment on the 23rd and 24th. The Investor Day, top investors coming in on the 22nd, hanging out, all that. But to build on that, I mean, for the founders attending this conference and hearing you just now saying, listen, the way we do this is co-investing with other funds. Okay, cool. But at the same time, your first pick if I recall correctly, First Pick is a reference to sports screening, basically finding sports talent and having first dibs. I know somebody screening Michael Jordan, for instance, or somebody, going American football, all that, and getting the best talent. No, for your model to work, you need to get first dibs, not just co-investing. Although you obviously have to be having good relationships with everybody else. And so for the founders listening right now and you getting your name out there, I mean, why do they come to you basically compared to, other funds? I know the specialist VCs, the Terras, right? The Karma Ventures. They're a little later, but I guess everybody dabbles in everything. So like, why do you go with First Pick as the first pick?
Yeah, I think Gleb, they come to everyone. Yeah. So that's the thing. Like, founders are picking. They're speaking with everyone, and then we're like, trying to prove and sell ourselves why we're better or not.
Exactly.
And I think there are a couple of like very technical things. We try to be fast, like really try to provide feedback very quickly and say yes and no. And sometimes we're much worse than we intend to be. Sometimes we actually issue term sheet within a couple of hours. But at the end, we have not invested in the team. So that's not necessarily,
sometimes you lose it.
Yeah. But I think so that's that. But I think on the other hand, it's why we feel that founders are coming to us. In Lithuania, it's easy. They really know us. They know our network. They understand that we'll provide very good connections. We obviously have accelerator program, but I think the focus comes to the people. So people is doing business with people. And if someone refers to us, and usually in Estonia, the deals, the way we got is that VCs referred us to founders and said, maybe you should speak with them and maybe we should combine the deal. So there is a trust thing. That's why people are coming.
So the takeaway is basically trust, both at the VC's end and the founder's end. That's what I'm getting out of this. Yrjö, obviously it's easy to say we invest in teams and we build trust and, we co-invest, but there's obviously maybe the underbelly, all that.
Well, yeah, and here's the underbelly. Everybody talks about trust until you try to get 10%. You say, well, yeah, sure, we'd love to have Jone as long as we get our 10%.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever's left over, they can have. So, Jone, how would you be interested in 0.5 or 1% in pre-seed of an Estonian company? Suddenly, that trust breaks down both between the two VCs as well as the founder, because there's a feeling of, oh, here's Jone trying to break the cap table. We're only giving away 10% in this round. It doesn't split, 5 and 5 because every fund wants to get their minimum 10.
The model.
So there's where the trust begins to crumble.
The incentives basically influence
becomes very difficult to make it work. So that strategy of trying to co-invest certainly exists. We've done lots of syndication, but it's also very difficult mathematically because every VC has their own business model, their own Excel tables. But one of the key things for early pre-seed investors is they have to get that 10% because it's the very beginning of the game. You're going to have 5-6 more rounds. Every round, between 20, 15% dilution each of them. So you can't start with any less than that. So that pie doesn't stretch to every VC that wants to get in the deal. So it makes it quite hard.
That's true. But in our model, actually, and I'll share some details.
Let's do it.
But we have a pie that's, a part of it is actually for this 10% or 8 actually percent. We say this is maybe the target ownership. We want 8% at the beginning. There's that many companies you can get for 8%, right? And then you need to really figure out how many investments you can make for founders, meaning that you have 1.5%, 2% maybe, but you really like the founders, you really like the round, you really want to be part of that round or something, or for the company itself, right? And honestly, I think to get into the market, one of the ways is to invest in the companies, even if you're not getting your 8% or 10%. And that's what we might be doing with the markets that we are not in.
Of course, the problem with the percentages is where do they come from? They come from valuation in the end, right? It's how much money does the startup want to raise at what price?
Pricing, yep.
So, that's another wrinkle. What if the founders are just like, no, we're not willing to go with that valuation. Suddenly, again, this trust breaks down. You may not be able to build these syndicates, which actually is interesting. That leads me to the question. As far as I've seen the statistics, I just talked to a VC this morning, how much more expensive Estonia is than Finland. Like dramatically more expensive valuation than Finland, right? So we're this rich country next to these poor Finns, where our developers just make so much money that hey, we got to have these high valuations. No, I'm joking, but we have obviously more unicorns as well, so we have the track record. Although going forward, how do you fit Estonian deals into your business model? Because they probably cost more than your Latvian deals, right?
Or Lithuanian deals.
Or Lithuanian deals.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think I'll need your opinion on that. So we've seen, I think we've seen actually quite a lot of Estonian deals in the pipeline. So it's not that we don't see them, we actually get to see them, but at the end we don't invest because we don't know if the founder is really cool or not. And then we say, okay, but the valuation might be a little bit too high for that. So obviously valuations are much higher. But then we see, you come to this team slide or investor slide, and there are so many of those super angels from Estonia investing. And we're like, oh, but it must be good, these cool founders, that exited, they have invested in the company. And then we started seeing that over and over again. And so tell me, is that a sign that the startup is really good, or is just how Estonian ecosystem works? So founders just backing everyone and giving, I think, generous valuations.
Well, as usual in life, things aren't so simple. It's both, right? It's not one or the other.
You can tell he's a lawyer.
But it's true. It's not one or the other. It's both. I think it's both of those things, because it kind of goes back to what you were saying also, Gleb.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're a pipe drive founder, you got an exit and you live in Tallinn, the deals that you're looking at are often Estonian. So you're going to probably invest in those Estonian deals, right? You also, as an Estonian, maybe know these founders and you're like, oh, wow, they're really good. It's fair to value this as a UK company, or it's fair to value a double Finnish or double a Berlin company, because you really personally know these founders. Suddenly that price for them makes sense. Now, history will show whether it was correct or not. And we have seen quite a few Estonian companies start out with a huge hurrah and mega high valuations in pre-seed, and then suddenly, poof, 18 months later, they don't even exist anymore.
Guys, I mean, that's the name of the game across almost every market VCs are in. Supply, demand, all that, right? So it pumps up and goes down. I'm really enjoying this chat. I'm having fun. Yeah, with any things that involve fun and all that. We also have time limitations and creative constraints. So I would gently ask basically both of you, right, to put yourself in the shoes of the founders right now, especially market conditions, raising it being what it is. Maybe some of the couple of max 3 pieces of advice from a practical standpoint, how to navigate these dynamics right now, what they could be doing. Because all 3 of us are going to be both on stages, all that, at Lat59 between the 22nd to 24th of May, or one of our top flagship conferences, one of the most developed ecosystems, essentially in Europe. What advice would you give? Given that you guys have been around, you've seen so many deals, you've made so many bets, what could they do? Obviously, my bias is pitching and persuasion. But from your angle, what would you give? You want to feel free to pitch in, maybe then Yrjö. Let's do it. Top 3 things for founders right now.
Yeah, I would say, I think there is sufficient capital, but if you can bootstrap at least to something, I would go the bootstrap way. And I don't want to promote venture capital, but if you get into that game, I can tell you that you will be pushed to continue it. And it will be so tough. You spend so much time fundraising. I think it's so unfair.
It's a hard game.
Really, it is a hard game. So I would be really, really thoughtful if I really want to do that. And investors should be also very open about it. Maybe you shouldn't raise. So that's, first of all, I think what they should.
Wow.
That's one advice from my side.
And I'll second that. That's also one of my, I would right away agree with that. Bootstrapping, as long as you can, get as much done upfront with your own efforts, your own money, FFF, whatever you can squeeze, borrow, steal, whatever. But try to leave the fundraising as late as possible. Your valuation will probably be higher. Your negotiation position with the VCs will be much better if you have accomplished certain things. And even your due diligence will go smoother because the VC will have someone to talk to. Maybe you've got some clients now they can interview. Maybe they can talk to some advisors, or you have something that they can look at that you did during that bootstrapping process. If you go right to the VC, it's literally, nothing. It's all about that vision. And nowadays, capital is difficult to raise. Just waving your arms, just raising on vision is difficult.
Guys, I love the fact that this advice is coming from two early stage VCs. They're price sensitive. I love the fact. It's very honest, guys.
But it's right. I think it's good for the founders.
Absolutely, guys. Let's do a couple more pieces. Let's keep it practical. And I suggest we gently wrap it up. Mm-hmm. And then all this will be put into post-production.
You want to say some more things I can agree on?
Yeah, studio is in a very agreeable mood.
I think you can go first, but I can keep on saying.
Yeah, that's easy to say. I can keep doing this as long as I don't have to. One is I would advise founders to look closely at who they're talking to at the VC. First of all, you have associates and partners. Some founders make the mistake. Just like in non-startup world, people are like, oh, she's a secretary and he's the boss. So
hierarchies, basically.
They're rude to the secretary. They don't really spend time with them. They don't want to talk to them. They just want to get past them. Don't do that. The people who have been in business a long time realize that these secretaries may be super powerful, control the entire agenda and how things move in that entire building and know more and are more on top of things than some of these bosses. The same with these associates. The associates are working their ass off. They're really nose to the grindstone, constantly out there talking to everyone, working it. Associate is an outstanding resource. Please don't, ignore them. Don't treat them like they're somehow second class citizens. That would be one thing. And then amongst partners, also partners and partners are not the same. In the beginning of the discussion, we already mentioned some people look more for numbers, other people look more for vision. Then you add to it the partner's personal political beliefs, partner's personal religious beliefs, and there's all kinds of creatures out there that if you don't think about these things up front, it will be extremely uncomfortable year or two down the road when things haven't gone exactly like you planned, how you wanted, you're raising it around, you don't quite have the metrics. How will that partner behave?
I like that question a lot.
Are they still going to be there for you? Are they still talking the same? Oh, founders first. You're the boss. We're here to help you. We'll do anything it takes. Really, now's the time. Anything? Go ahead, transfer the money. See if they actually will do that anything they promised you during the flirting and dating phase once you're married.
Okay, let me summarize. Be nice to associates and know who you're getting into a relationship with. Due diligence calls with founders in portfolio. What's the word in the street? I think we got that.
That's the best thing. Talk to the other founders who have actually worked with that partner. Because whatever, just like you've seen the McDonald's hamburger on the picture, the McDonald's hamburger that you actually get is very different. The partners that you see pitching at Latitude are very different than the partners you will actually work with when things get tough.
We'll be looking under the hood with Dad during the 23rd,
That's
24th.
part of what we do 23, 24.
Exactly. So, Jone, last round. What's the single most important piece of advice?
So, I agree. Yrjö.
God damn it. Agreement with everybody.
No. I'll say something new as well. But absolutely, associates are your biggest cheerleaders in the fund. If they will not like you, will not show respect, that's it. You're done, you're over. With partners, with our fund, the same. I'm pretty sure with you, Yrjö, the same. Partners are so different, and the outcome of founder meeting me or someone else from the partners can be very different. And that's just the way it is. You have the strategy, but the personal approach plays a big role. I think my maybe last thing that might be a bit controversial, and I'm very curious if Yrjö will agree, is that not every company needs to be €1 billion company when we invest. And we really slice also our portfolio of saying, okay, this might be a $500,000 opportunity, the $500 million opportunity, and none of companies in our model is actually modeled on a unicorn. And that's just because historically in the Baltics, that hasn't happened yet, in Lithuania at least. Investing in the earliest stage and exiting a unicorn is just a very long time span. So whenever someone is like saying, well, can you be a €1 billion company? That's a good question. But you should understand that maybe there's no unicorn in the model of VC. That would be that.
Guys, I'd love to pursue this conversation. I think the model of VC is a topic for another episode, but definitely it's very exciting. And I definitely want to see you two talk about this. But let me summarize this. There's going to be a lot more conversations like this on the 23rd and 24th of May, where me and my partner in crime, Yrjö, are going to be having conversations with 10 top funds across 2 days. And we're going to be asking them candid, direct questions after they got their shtick going for 2-3 minutes.
So it's not your old school reverse pitching that everybody just comes up and says their poem that's memorized and leaves the stage. We're actually going to follow up.
We'll get the real deal.
Yep.
And Jone, you've gone through this whole thing. You know how it's like. And I'm really glad that you joined us today for the conversation. And obviously, Yrjö, it's nice to finally see you after, you ran away to Spain. I'm looking forward to actually hanging out.
New deal flow.
Guys, attend Latitude59. It's an amazing event. I've been attending it since 2012 myself.
I've been there since the very first one.
Me too. Me too. We get to meet lovely people like Jone and Yrjö, and sometimes even me. Love to hang out with you guys. Check it out. Guys, this is Pitch Confidential, Lat59. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's about to happen. It's about to happen.